People just like the character of old vintage equipment. So, like electro is funk. So, with a lot of digital equipment, you don't get the funk, the rawness. So that's why you have Moog, for example, or Korg machines. Or
Korg MS-20, MS-50.
The Moog source.
EMS up to
sequential stuff, sort of drum tracks. Pro 1, the Pro 5.
System 700.
El Access Virus y el Nord Modular.
Vocoders.
Coders and stuff, which I use on mostly all my electro stuff actually. So yeah, I'm more into the old analog stuff.
The Mini Moog was the first portable synthesizer that wasn't big and modular the way the older ones were, but it created a new sound where rock and roll engaged it, funk engaged it, the early techno, all these different styles of bands grabbed that Mini Moog and created a whole texture of sounds. Wendy Carlos, she actually created a whole album using the Moog Modular, which was the patch cable style one. But the interesting thing about that was literally that she had to record onto 8 tracks. That's all she had. And each time you play a note, it's only one note that you could play. So you can't play a chord the way you can normally. So she would have to record a single note of a chord, rewind the tape, play the second note of that chord, rewind the tape again, play the third note of that chord if it's a 3-note chord. And that's how they create a whole chord. Then grab all those tape tracks and bounce it over to have that chord now playing on one single track. And you have to keep layering and layering.
Early sequencing.
Early sequencing, exactly.
What is this right here? Is this like the first computer ever or what?
This is actually the first digital sampler. It's called the Fairlight. It only gave you about 8 seconds maximum of sampling, but it stored everything to 8-inch floppy disk. The whole system was the computer, right, which had the voices in it, the keyboard, the ASCII keyboard, the monitor, and the light pen system. You could actually sit there and draw your own waveform and then play it back. But it originally came out in 1979. If you think about it, the technology that this thing had compared to everything else that was out during that time period. The other guy that we were just talking about definitely would be Roger Linn. He designed something called the Linn 9000. That Linn 9000 is what became the predecessor to the whole Akai MPC series.
Now inside of here, is this a drum machine or
Yes.
is it just a sequencer?
It's a drum machine and sequencer. So it's just like the MPC. In fact, here is the first model, the MPC 60. See, after Roger Linn's company went under, he got hired by Akai because of his design for that Linn 9000. And you can see it's basically the same type of thing. In fact, they even put his name on it.
I have several drum machines, MPC 60, Roland 8080, 727, 626.
There's definitely a trend if you notice it. It's all Roland gear, from the Juno, Jupiters, to the TR series drum machines.
The whole Roland series, I'm really into the sound. I mean, I've made a track using nearly all their machines.
The 909.
to 808.
808 drum machine.
The most classic of all drum machines. That would be the Roland TR-808. The way it programs, the sound, it just has a certain life to it that no other really new drum machine has been able to recreate it quite the same. In fact, most of the new drum machines even copy that style of programming. Mr. K from Roland started off making drum machines under the Ace Tone name, called the Rhythm Aces. And later, Roland started making their own products. In fact, this is the first Roland drum machine. This is the TR-33.
Is that actual sequencer too, or?
All you could do was literally push a button and hit start, and it would play a pattern, whether it was rumba, cha-cha, mambo, slow rock, waltz, whatever it might be.
You could change the tempo.
Yeah, you had tempo control.
Okay.
Then you also have balance, but that's about it. Interesting thing is that there's no start-stop button. It's just a touchpad. So you touched it, and it triggered the sequencer to go.
Electro's become so diverse, or electronic music, it's even hard to pinpoint, you know, what the real name or identity of it is anymore.
Well, everywhere's got their own sort of individual styles, like sort of Holland, like Rotterdam, places like that. There's like a really good scene there. It's a lot more sort of deeper, weirder, sort of more analog style.
In a big city, you get distracted every 5 minutes from the goal you wanted to go to. And over here, there's nothing to do, so you have plenty of time to work on your sound. Started off with the first record of Electronome in 93, 94. There was No Landscape, released by IF on his own label. That record exploded. Just everybody went crazy and started producing electro. It took some time before electro became big in the Netherlands as well. The original is pretty based from Alkmaar. After that you got IF into electro, Italo disco.
Making the experimental music and being involved in the experimental way of approaching music was just a learning school for me to get my style into the electro music.
When you go to London, it's like completely dance floor.
We've had an explosion of club culture in this country.
For a lot of English producers, they're incorporating the old rave sound into their music.
Now we're injecting that back into electro. The electro you hear today is very influenced by everything that's happened in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
It's not just gone back to 1984, it's progressed.
But then there's a deeper side.
I think the UK sound is definitely pushing that kind of deeper, groovier kind of feel rather than just in your face kind of club vibe.
In England, it's been growing quite strong because I think with electro you can maintain the tempo and maintain the drive and the power because of the way the beats are. You know, you can appeal to a techno crowd because it has, you know, the tempo's high enough. It has the power, but it's just not so in your face. I mean, it's a little bit slinkier, it's a little bit sexier.
Bueno, la verdad que el hecho de vivir en España, el contacto que yo tuve con las primeras influencias dentro de la música electrónica fue, pues, me imagino, pues diferente al resto de países europeos, porque, por supuesto, aquí hemos tenido un cierto aislamiento, ¿no? Por supuesto, las influencias que tuvimos al principio pues eran sobre todo de grupos como Depeche Mode, New Order y toda esa ola de los 80 que venía forjándose. Pero bueno, quizás aquí en España los primeros grupos con los que pudimos empezar a ver que se podría llamar música electrónica estaban un poco perdidos, ¿no?
I started listen electro body music in the 80s. In time, go records here and we listen and say, oh, Aux 88, Detroit electro or Miami bass, for example. No? We don't have a very good scene of a sound of Barcelona yet, and we learn about all the sounds.
European stuff is like experimental.
Minimalistic, like in Europe, you know, this new style, it's so straight and not melodies at all, you know, it's been changing a lot, past 2 years.
I think we are kind of trying to find a good solution of danceable beat, but still like melodic, listenable stuff. Not really straight on like beat-wise electro, what it's mostly now.
Living in the world of ultra violence.
mono chunk. He's been doing this shit like from 80s. One of the first releases from Finland came like early 90s, late 80s by him, you know. And
Imatra Voima is a big influence in Helsinki. They are making kind of a Miami bass sound of Finland.
There's lots of our friends from the States as well, people like the Outside Recordings guys and the ELM guys. The music they're writing, it's really, really fresh, it's completely original.
I think it's just electro. He tried to start splitting it off, you know.
I think it's beats.
Some weirder than other.
They're working music from the top to the bottom. They're literally making all their own sequencing programs, all their own synthesizers on computers, all their own sounds. It is literally completely original music. It's amazing, man. There's some really good stuff coming out.
I think more of the Florida stuff, because it's got like this strictly danceful music.
Just the climate of the place, you can just understand why bass happened here.
I want to thank y'all for coming out. It's the first time me and Jimbo have been together on stage in over 15 years, y'all.
Raving happened in England because of a certain cultural climate, and that's why bass happened here for the same sort of reasons. It's its own flavour, it's its own vibe.
They grew up to this music. They grew up to it. Like the people that were here tonight, they grew up to ghetto music and Miami bass and electro. They grew up with this stuff, so they're used to it. It's not like we had to break them into it. Miami bass was really popular here, so what a lot of these DJs did was they mixed the Miami bass records with like the Detroit techno and Detroit electro. There's a certain time where there's a few producers, we just took all these certain elements of music, like we took what we like out of Miami bass and we took what we like out of techno and we took the parts that we like out of electro and we took those little parts and stuck it in one record. And that's how Detroit Ghetto Tech came.
You were here in Detroit, you had to know somebody or know somebody in the scene to even find out where those parties. It's still like that today. You still have to find out where the hippest parties are, because you won't find out even if you ride down the city now. It's not in the nightclubs. And you have to find somebody or either call a number to find out what's going on. And then be able to stay up all night to even enjoy it.
A lot of free raves going on in sort of 91, 92, and it was just mad. Every weekend I used to drive a van and used to just fill it up with people and just blast tunes, and we'd find out where the party was from the pirate radio station. They'd tell you the numbers to call, and it's crazy. Like, it was so exciting because the music was so exciting as well.
It was such a huge cultural change too. You'd go to a big rave in the early 90s and you'd go, wow, this is really exciting. You know, there's 2,000 people in this warehouse out in Brooklyn.
Like, there was a hardcore sort of breaks, drum and bass. You know, before it was called drum and bass, it was called hardcore. There's loads of different names like Ragga House.
So ambient for between like 1990 and 19 '96 was called ambient, and then later they started to sort of transfer it over to IDM. But a lot of IDM that's made today is ambient music, or what we would call ambient back then.
It sort of mutated. It was amazing to watch this music grow into what it is now, like the drum and bass thing. I still love drum and bass a lot.
There were some parties, you know, the guys from Saka Recordings, if you know, like
Pansonic
and Jimmy Tenor and these guys, you know, they're friends. Small community keeping like parties in like all the industry buildings, and but we were so young, you know, so that time it was hard to get in still, you know.
I learned that there was all this music that was really awesome that I hadn't heard before, and I learned that there were these parties that were happening where you could hear music in a way that I'd never heard music before.
Basically, it's all about freedom. Throwing illegal parties over here, fresh beats, strange sounds, experimenting, but all dance floor orientated.
It took many years, like before I even knew what was electro. It was like middle 90s when everything came together, you know, and I know this, you know, we know this, you know, okay, yeah, this is the thing. And of course that time, you know, then you knew what you want to buy.
I was basically buying more and more electro and was really getting into it and stuff like that. And I realised that there were certain kind of producers that I was really feeling, and other things that I thought that I liked really, like I was really into, but they didn't seem to kind of work well in the club when I was playing them. So I suddenly noticed that some electro was more kind of dance floor friendly. And I thought that would be the kind of area that we would concentrate in.
I just wanted to release some records, just whatever that could be. And it happens that the people I met, they were doing some really interesting electro. It's a style I like because it's still close of the hard edge. Yeah, more darker, and that's why I carried on doing records with these guys.
I look for tracks that you can play in a room of 1,000 people, or you can play in a room of 100 people. People that want to go out and dance and go crazy to music.
Queremos hacer un sello de amistades, de que podemos editar las cosas de nuestros amigos, ¿no? Da igual si es de un tipo de electro o de otro tipo, mientras sea electro es lo que nos interesa.
Our plan is to try and get electro out of the back room of clubs and into the main room, really, where all the action is.
A record shop called IQ Records. It was open for about 3.5, 4 years, and it was quite a mecca for underground electronic music. We never sold anything that we weren't truly into, and the shop was known for that. And when that closed down, it was sad. There was a few years of a gap where there wasn't really many people really trying to push good music. They'd sell little bits of it, but there wasn't people genuinely in a shop saying, look, buy this is really good music. They'd just give you a pile of 50 records and say, sift through that. I don't really believe that's the way music should be sold. I think it should be sold by people who are really enthusiastic about it. So the way I do it now is I basically get music straight from the labels, straight from small distributors that really care about the music. The music comes to me, it goes straight to the people that care about it, all the DJs, and the people that earn the money out of it then are the labels and the artists and the people who really do deserve to get something back out of this, and that way they can carry on doing what they're doing.
I think like publicly he doesn't get so much as he deserves anyways. He's like the ambassador for electro, man. He's like trying to bring worlds together, from North Carolina to London to LA, you know, now Miami, you know what I'm saying? It's like really like he's the link for all of us anyways. So, but it's tight. We have a tight crew, man, for sure.
Yeah, they do have a tight crew. I agree.
Breaks FM. We've also got Agent 2, Stormfield, and ADJ in the house. Keep it locked. All good. Anyway, right about now, I'll do the news.
¿Qué es lo que más te impulsa o te motiva?
I get inspired by the synths themselves and the sounds.
even though a lot of them could be like really similar, you can say, oh, this is an analog monosynth, and you know, the SH-101 is another analog monosynth. You know, what's the difference? But they all, you know, have very different sounds. They all have their own character.
Y bueno, a mí me motiva mucho, por supuesto, la tecnología, ¿no? Los avances tecnológicos, los problemas que genera en la sociedad a nivel social, incluso con un futuro cercano, ¿no? Me refiero a desde la clonación humana, problemas demográficos de que, pues bueno, la sociedad está creciendo y el planeta no lo puede soportar. Por supuesto, eso es suficiente motivación como para poder en un momento dado plasmar ideas, ¿no? Quizás un poco pesimistas, pero realmente no es pesimismo. Es un poco advertencia simplemente. Es una forma de llegar a los demás y explicar un poco lo que tú sientes ahí con lo que te rodea.
We should embrace technology. That's what electro is. And techno, I mean, is techno electro anyway. It's like Kraftwerk. Even they were influenced by other people. I mean, they were doing like acoustic music until they met Connie Plank. And then they did the Autobahn album when he produced it, and apparently he had a massive synth studio, and their music changed after that. And you know, he went along, he later produced like I think it was Rap Machine with Houdini.
I mean, really, we just want to give something back more than anything, because we've been inspired by a lot of stuff. We're all into it.
You never go into the studio and make a track thinking, right, I'm going to make a track that's going to sell 5,000 copies or something. You just go and make the best track you can most of the time, you know.
Don't make any money out of selling records, basically.
No, there's no money in it. It's just like a business card, really. It gets you gigs. That's
good thing is, yeah, that's a good thing. Not really worried about sort of sales as much as we just want to break even and just get the music out there, and just, you know, so we can sort of say what we're wanting to say, but, you know, just do music, you know. That's what a better way to spend your time than just doing what you love to do and getting to travel to places, and it doesn't really matter about record sales too much, you know.
You're not making all this much money. A lot of people are like, well, why would you pick a genre of music where you don't make that much money? I'm like, but you got to see the look on people's faces when they hear that. They appreciate it. These people have been listening to this music from the heart.
Just know that Egyptian Lover makes the music for the DJs. I love the DJs. I'm making it for the DJs so the DJs can play it for the people, because the people who buy the records, who dance to the records, who love the music, that's what it's all about. Making them happy, making them dance, keeping them happy.
The parties, which I think like in a London stroke British sense, whatever I kind of took from London sense as well. At the end of the day, it is about having a good party. You know, and it's like whether you're a producer, a DJ or a raver, that's what it's about.
Yeah, I want everyone to have a good laugh, because I think that's the bit that people forgot for a while. And all of a sudden you go out and people are actually dancing again, and I think it's nice to actually see people having fun. And that's the reason that we all got into it, because we had fun when we went out.
Like a scene building that support the true sound of electro, but on a whole it's a very small, close-knit scene. It's got quite a way to go yet, but there's definitely something building up.
There could be improvements, because the music should be recognised, you know, and acknowledged, and obviously we are not, you know.
I think it should. I mean, even if it did climb at a few more levels, it's still not going to be anywhere near as commercial or as big as like house or trance or anything else as shite as that, you know what I mean?
This is what keeps us underground, and that's okay, because that's where we come from, you know. We've always been underground in the sense that we've never really commercialised our sound.
It's still not going to lose its underground thing, even if it tripled its output, you know what I mean? It's so low-key still.
just doing your own thing with electronic music. So I mean, that's what I want to see. It's more people being more individual and just doing their own projects and just getting out there and progressing the whole music. So I think if you start getting it too kind of honed down to a style or a sound, then everyone will stop being creative and they'll just kind of get stuck in a rut. I think it's better that people develop individually and do their thing, definitely. Who knows what it'll sound like? Hopefully it'll sound like nothing we can imagine. That's what I hope, that it sounds like, you know, something completely new and bizarre and crazy, but really good. That's what I would hope. I guess the whole point is that we can't know what it's going to sound like, or else it hasn't done its job. You know, if it still sounds the same as it sounds now, then something's gone wrong.
El seguir avanzando como lo está haciendo, el seguir compartiendo ideas entre los diferentes estilos, entre los diferentes artistas, entre los sellos.
If you are making music, if you are DJing or whatever, you know, you've got to remember that the scene doesn't exist, it's transparent. You've got to go and create your own scene. You've got to create your own system. You've got to go out there, and if you haven't got a club night going on, start a club night. That's what I did. If you haven't got a record label to put your music out on, start your own record label. I think people need to just remember, you know, essentially what it's about and how much effort it takes to put music out. It takes to run a record label. It takes to run a club.
They have to watch what happens on worldwide. They will lose a lot of good music.
To open the mind.
Yeah.
You know, believe in what you do, and you know, just seek out as much information, technology, support, and also inspiration, and you know, networking with other people in the community, because that's what keeps it going, and that's why it's still going now. That's why you're talking to me and I'm talking to you.
I mean, Simon Brown said to me recently, what are you going to do, Phil, when electro just disappears again? You know, you're going to be out of it, you're not going to get any work. I said, yeah, I know, and I'll probably still carry on making it, and I probably will. But that's just what I'll do, I suppose. And maybe it'll come round for a third time, who knows? I'll be about 50 odd.
Maybe it's run away.
You never know, dear.
That's what I love about it. It's never gone away, really.
It hasn't really, no, yeah, I suppose not. But the true people who have been making it for this long, who are still going to carry on making it, are still going to make tracks for themselves or for, you know, for the people that love it.
Ya está. ¿Algo que añadir?
Don't stop the bass. Yeah, enchève the bass.
Cut the mid-range and drop the bass.
Yeah, that's good enough for me as well. Yeah, that's about it, thanks.
We're gonna get run over by the garbage truck in a minute, so we gotta stop recording, man. But hopefully your journey to Detroit was good. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for coming out.